RMBL, riding my best life.
Okay, so I'm on my way to Bicycles Unlimited, one of my local bike shops here in St. George, Utah, where I like to get all my work done. What's being fixed today is hopefully they were able to isolate the noise that keeps coming out of my bike. If you've watched my videos close enough, you hear kind of annoying creak and click every once in a while. And I don't like that. I don't like noises in my car. I don't like noises on my bike. They usually tell you there's something wrong because they're really not supposed to make those noises. I know it's an older bike. It's a 2016 Remedy, and I love it. So no reason to buy a new bike quite yet. I've upgraded a few parts. But Nate said he spent about 10 hours working on it. Nate is the tech at Bicycles Unlimited, and he's very good at what he does. He said through the process of elimination, he was able to make it quiet. So we'll see. Hopefully with any luck, he'll let us do a little interview and he can show us exactly what he did. So if he does, I'll share that with you. Here in front of my favorite bike shop, Bicycles Unlimited, St. George, Utah. All right, here I am with Nate at Bicycles Unlimited. Here's the trusty Trek Remedy. So the problem is this thing had been making noise for about 6 months. And so the question for you, Nate, is what do we do when someone has a bike that makes noise like mine?
We went pretty depth with this one, but the first thing I would suggest is cleaning the bike first. A lot of people that bring their bike in with a noise, I first start with a rinse to make sure that you're getting all your debris out of your main pivot areas with the suspension. I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of times that will remove a lot of noises because in our climate, in this area, in our terrain, we have a lot of silty sand. So that stuff just gets leached in every orifice, every little crack, and that can make noises. Obviously, as you mentioned, yours was a little more extensive. The next thing I would suggest is, we just mentioned pivots, to check your pivots. And when I say check pivots, check all your fasteners to make sure that they're tight. On your bike, I found this one had backed out and loosened up.
Is there a certain torque they need to be?
There is certain torques. If you look on these, a lot of times they will state the torque on the bolt head itself.
Okay.
So with yours, I started with a lot of the main ones, again, cleaning, checking pivots. I had cleaned all the pivots. I did find that your rear bearings and your ABP pivot back here, one of them was completely seized, wouldn't even turn.
Wow.
So I replaced new bearings here. I did pull your mounting hardware on your shock just to make sure there wasn't any debris in there. Wiped it really good, cleaned it out. Did pull the crank just in case. I know we just put a new drivetrain on this, but I covered that. And that's what you're going to find with noises. Unfortunately, it's kind of a process of elimination. You know, you got to start somewhere and then just start checking off the notorious places that you think it's going to be. Yeah. This one really was a work because it did take quite a bit of process. I even pulled your whole fork out of the bike, cleaned the headset bearings and inside the frame, the cups, because that's another place that gets noise. I pulled the handlebar and stem off to make sure there wasn't debris inside of there. There's another place that's notorious for noise.
Yeah. And you said you did something here too with the seat post. So what was going on there?
So I found on this particular seat post, you know, with the cabling, you know, coming through the frame, we usually try to trim that cable off as short as possible. Before, someone actually had looped that cable back. And so you had about a good inch or two of cable sticking out. So while you're going down the trail and bouncing, that can vibrate in there. So I feel like that could have been probably a cause for ticking. The other thing I did was, you had mentioned your water bottle bolts was loose.
Yeah.
I started checking those, and once I actually touched this one, there's a tapping.
You can hear it.
There's a clicking noise.
Yeah, okay.
So your bosses in your frame, they can loosen up. So those rib nuts. So I actually had a tool that I reflared those inside the frame and tightened that up. So
awesome. That
was another noise that we eliminated and took care of. But the thing that I mainly see is just proper maintenance. You know, getting your tune-ups at least annually. Depending if you're riding a lot, maybe even every 6 months. Right.
Well, I've been riding a couple years, and I definitely learned, and I really appreciate guys like you helping me understand more and helping anybody who's watching. Yeah. So, Nate, thanks very much, man.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it works. So if it doesn't work, what's the next? New bike day?
New bike day is always a good day.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
As you know, we visited Nate over at Bicycles Unlimited, and again, for about 6 months, maybe even longer, I've been dealing with a noise coming out of my bike. that we couldn't find. I've taken it to 2 separate bike shops, one in Idaho, one locally, and they all tried different things, torquing different things. And I put quite a bit of money into a full bike tune-up with all new cables and whatnot, just to get rid of it, and it never really went away. But Nate was able to isolate it. He did it by process of elimination. Start on one end, see what could possibly be the culprit, eliminate that, work on to the next. So every time you would eliminate one of the possibilities, you'd take it for a ride, and sure enough, you'd hear the noise, so you'd go on to the next. And sometimes you've got to be able to put the work in to get the results, and I'm very happy with the results. So Nate at Bicycle Unlimited, shout out to you. There was no noise coming out of that bike. It sounded like a new bike to me. One less thing to worry about. You're always worried about your equipment and whether it's going to fall apart. Thanks for the advice on keeping it clean and checking every once in a while with an Allen wrench to make sure everything is staying tight. And again, shout out to the Bicycles Unlimited in St. George, Utah. You did me a solid today. So quick reminder, get off the couch and get out and ride.
Riding my best life. I really am.